So, the devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam study, systematic study, Dr. Vaibhavai. So, we're continuing with our Unit 12 study. We welcome His Grace Srivas Vanacari, who is going to be taking us. So, we can start. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Make me a host so that I can share. Amagyanatamiridasya Gyanan Gyanashala Kanyak Chakshuramalitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahogana Regunastam Bitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakam Bitam Sya Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Iti Namini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Sri Tadmane Sri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Iti Namini Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvise Sasuyavadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Narayana Namaskritya Narayachaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayesha Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So everyone is welcome to today's session. We are still on the 20th chapter of the third canto, which is entitled Conversation Between Maitreya and Vidur. And today we are continuing from text 27. But before we proceed to discuss or look at the verses and the purports of these verses, it is always good to recap some of the points that were discussed yesterday so that we can link yesterday's discussion, the previous discussion, with the current discussion. Look at the verses and the purports of these verses. What is happening? To recap some of the points that were discussed yesterday so that we can link yesterday. What is happening? My speech is being repeated.
Sorry, the YouTube.
That's the YouTube. Okay. So
it's not a speaker. It's my YouTube channel.
Okay. So yesterday we discussed some points from 13 to 26. So is there something that stuck in your mind or stuck in your mind that you would like to share, or any interesting point from the discussion of yesterday that you would like to share with the rest of us? Anyone who wants to share some point that's stuck in mind from yesterday? So when when Brahma created the five principles of ignorance. So the five principles of ignorance were created by Brahma, and he did not like them. Actually, Brahma did not like those five principles because they're coverings of ignorance. And so Brahma threw it off. He threw it off, and the yakshas and the rakshasas were created from that ignorance. So that is something that can stimulate our the discussion we had yesterday. So, Rasavan Prabhuti, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances at your dear most spiritual feet.
All glory to Gurudev and Sri Prabhupada.
I want to know about this five ignorance that Brahma first created.
Yeah.
These five ignorance and then the four Kumaras, which one were created first?
And the five ignorance were created first. Yeah. Because Brahma has not yet started creating the living entities. So this one came first before the Kumaras were created. Actually, the Kumaras were created to counteract these ignorances, or to counteract, because they were to enlighten, to educate the living entity in order to overcome these five ignorance that Brahma created. So they came after.
Okay. And the next question is that then it means this five ignorance was the very first creation Brahma conducted. And the question is, why is it that Brahma initiates this glorious work with such deep darkness of ignorance? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Material creation means giving facility.
I will say little.
Material creation means giving facility to the living entity, rebellious living entity, to try to exploit material nature. The rebellious living entities that are called the Nitya Baddhas, we have come into the material world with a very strong desire to exploit material nature. So Brahma's duty is to facilitate. And so part of that facilitation is to give us a body that would make us forget the Supreme Lord, is to give us a body that will facilitate our desire to exploit material nature. So these five principles of ignorance, Tamisra, Andatamisra, Moha, Mahamoha, and Tamas. These are the five principles of ignorance that is necessary to keep the living entity covered. So Brahma had to create that before the living entities were, distributed throughout the universe. So it is actually described as a thankless tax, a tax that you don't want to do, a tax that you don't even appreciate. But because it's your duty to do it, you do it. So it is said that this creation of the material world to facilitate the living entities' desire to enjoy is actually a thankless task that Brahma had to do under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is not that Brahma wanted to, entangle the living entities. No, that's not his desire. But that is the order of the Supreme Lord, that these living entities in the material world, they want to imitate me, they want to exploit, and therefore provide the necessary conditions for their attempt to exploit. So Brahma has to give out these 5 sheets of ignorance.
Okay, thank you very much. And then another point is that,
Okay.
Maharaj, yes, I'm very much okay.
All right.
Another point is that,
yeah,
is that from the critical observation, we could see that materialists are so much eager of what we call so-called development of this material world, technology and all those things. But a highly advanced pure devotees, they are not at all concerned of trying to invent something or create something, manifest something for so-called development. All their duty is to serve the Lord within the material world as it is manifested by the Lord. So, could we understand that the eagerness to create or to invent is also part of the illusion?
Yes, it's part of the illusion because these creations that we are eager to manifest, if they are not utilized for the purpose of devotional service, they will simply increase our bondage. If these facilities are not directed to the service of the Supreme Lord, they will add to the illusion, they will add to the entanglement of the conditioned soul. So, yes, but if we understand that everything is coming from the Lord, the intelligence we are using is coming from the Lord, the raw materials we are using to invent, to create all these machinery, technology is coming from the Lord, and therefore we engage them in the service of the Lord, then that is wonderful, that is beautiful, because we would make advancement. But if we are simply inventing these things for our own pleasure, for our sense gratification, then we are going to get more and more entangled, more and more illusioned, and our material existence will simply perpetuate. Yeah. So we're not against inventions, we're not against technological development. We're not against it. We are against the misuse. Yeah. After all, are we not using technology? This Zoom, this technology, these computers, phones, is technology. But we are using them for Krishna service, and therefore they are properly utilized. Others are also using the same facilities for different purposes that will entangle them. But for a devotee, we will use everything for Krishna service, and we would make progress by using them in Krishna service. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Any other comment before we move on to our today's discussion?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you want to share some point from yesterday?
Yes. We discussed yesterday about the speed or the pace that we are going to move. So I think we should be having targets. Maybe this lecture will say we finish the chapter so that we'll be able to move at a reasonable space and limit our other discussions. I don't know if it makes sense.
You're talking about the pace.
Yes.
So we can move faster. Yeah, I agree that we must have a certain amount of verses. We have to, how long it's going to take us to complete a chapter. So for instance, today my desire is if we could complete this chapter, but it depends on the questions and discussions that would determine the pace. So anyway, I think we can move ahead with the discussion. So beginning with text 27.
Okay, Maharaj.
Text 27.
Maharaj.
Yes.
Excuse me. Please, I'm very sorry. I was able to join. Yes, I'm able to join from yesterday. But what I realized that is that we are not reciting the Sanskrit texts. So, that is one of the major aspects of the whole study. So I'm suggesting, like the other masters did, you can recite the Sanskrit text and then request any of us to read the translation and then the purport, so that at least that's the language of the soul, so that we get more purified by that.
Okay, I have no objection.
In your former classes, you were doing the same, but it's only this one that I see that the term has changed.
Yes, because I'm coming from Mayapur Institute, and I think even Vrindavan Institute also, because we have a certain number of verses we have to cover a day. So we have to leave out certain things in order to move forward. So, but if you request, we can do it. What I used to do is just read the first verse, the Sanskrit and the translation, and then the rest just the translation, so that we save time. But it is part of the study that we should go through the verse so that we can become acquainted with some of the words in the sloka. So no problem, we can. So beginning with 27, it says, Tuam eka kila lokanam klishtanam klisha nashana Tuam eka klesha dastesham anashana padam tavaha. So translation, my Lord, you are the only one capable of ending the affliction of the distress and inflicting agony on those who never resort to your feet. On the slide, we have the words kleshadas tesham anashana padam tava indicate that the Lord has two concerns. The first is to give protection to persons who take shelter of his lotus feet. And the second is to give trouble to those who are always demonic and who are inimical toward the Lord. Maya's function is to give afflictions to the non-devotees. Here, Brahma said, you are the protector of the surrendered souls. Therefore, I surrender unto your lotus feet. Please give me protection from these demons. So we learned how when the demons were created from the buttocks of the Brahma, they run after him for sex. So Brahma was in trouble. When he created the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, they wanted to eat him up. He escaped that. Then now he has created demons from his buttocks, and they want to have sex with him. So Brahma is in constant trouble. From the beginning of the creation, Brahma is in trouble. When Brahma was found himself on top of the lotus flower, it was all darkness around, all darkness. He could not see anything. He could not see anybody. He was just alone there. So that was very troubling. It was very difficult for him. But because of his great intelligence, his developed intelligence, he could understand that he has to perform austerities. Of course, Krishna gave him the sign by the sound tapa from his flute. And Brahma understood that I cannot understand anything. I cannot do anything without tapasya. So immediately, Brahma resorted to performing tapasya. And from the tapasya, the Lord empowered him to create. From the tapasya, Krishna revealed to him knowledge. Tene Brahma Hirdaya Adi Kavaye. The Lord revealed to him the Vedic literature. The Lord revealed to him the creation. The Lord revealed everything to him. And then Brahma began the creation. But that was not the end of the trouble. As soon as Brahma began the creation, then the living entities he's creating were giving him trouble. The yakshas and the rakshasas, they wanted to eat him up. Brahma had to run for his life. And then now he has created the demons and they want to have sex with him. So Brahma is constantly having trouble in the purpose of serving the Lord. So this is very important also for us. Yeah, we should think that devotional service is going to be very smooth. Engaged in Krishna consciousness, there shouldn't be any trouble, there shouldn't be any problem. Everything should just go smoothly, everything should just be cozy, no problem. Let's see the example of Brahma. Brahma is engaged in the Visharga, secondary creation. He is doing that on behalf of the Lord. And Brahma is going through a lot of trouble. So now Brahma has run to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is telling the Lord, oh Lord, you are the only one capable of ending the affliction of the distressed and inflicting agony on those who never resort to your lotus feet. So from this, we can understand that there will be problems, there will be troubles, there will be challenges, even in our attempt to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the solution is we should not run away. We should rather approach the Lord for protection. So, the Lord has two concerns: giving protection to the surrounded souls and giving trouble to those who are demonic and are inimical toward him. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna makes that clear. Paritranaya sadunam vinasaya chaduskritam, that he descends in this world, he appears in this world for two reasons. One is to give protection to the devotees. He appeared to give pleasure to his devotees, to his surrounded souls. Paritranaya sadunam, sadhu means devotee. Krishna comes into this world to give protection, to give pleasure. Anugrahaya bhaktanam. Krishna comes into this world out of compassion for his bhaktas, out of love for his devotees. And so he's ready to protect them. Simultaneously, vinasaya chaduskritam, he is also eager to annihilate the demons. So therefore, it is said, Sankabja chakrasha chapagadasi charmha vyagrai hiramaya bujai eva kani karaha. The Lord is always holding a certain items in his hand. He holds the lotus, he holds the wheel, he holds the club, he holds the conch shell. And sometimes he holds the arrow and the bow and sword and shield. Why does the Lord hold these things? To indicate that the Lord has two businesses. One business is to bless the devotees, and the other business is to deal with the demons. So the conch shell and the lotus flower is meant for blessing the devotees, and the chakra and the gada are meant for smashing the demons. So by the weapons the Lord carry, it indicates his main businesses. So here, Brahma is highlighting that. And Brahma is running to the Supreme Lord for protection. Anuklasya sankalpa pratiklasya varjanam rakshashyati vishashogoprite varanam tata. There are 6 divisions of surrender. Acceptance of those things that are favorable for devotional service, rejection of those things that are unfavorable for devotional service, the conviction that Krishna will always give us protection, and the acceptance of the Lord as one's guardian and master, and finally, surrendering unto the Lord in humility. So Brahma is carrying out the last aspect of the 6 principles of surrender, the 6 divisions of surrender. So by all means, Krishna will provide protection for his dear devotee, Brahmanji. So similarly, when we are encountered with trouble, when we meet with trouble, we have to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead for that protection. Text 28 says, so Vadariyasya karpanyam vivikta jyatma darshanaha vimuchatma aha. The Lord who can distinctly see the minds of others, perceive Brahma's distress, and said to him, cast off this impure body of yours. Thus commanded by the Lord, Brahma casts off his body. So the constant dropping of body means giving up a particular mentality. According to Srivas, yes?
Yes, I just wanted to ask some questions.
According to Srivas Swami, okay, on the previous discussion.
Yeah, before we move away from it, the aspect we just commented on.
Okay.
You see a similar story in the Bible where we're talking about the demoniac children that gave troubles to their father, Lord Brahma, trying to kill him, and some even wanted to have sex. But we see a story in the Bible of Lord's daughters who gave wine to their father and then had a carnal relationship with him. So how do we relate this?
How do we understand? Demons. They are demons. They are demonesses. because to have relationship with one's father or one's mother is prohibited. Scripturally, it is not allowed. Spiritually, it's not allowed. Morally, it's not allowed. Ethically, it's not allowed. Only demonic mental people, they can do this. So, just as Brahma is running away from these demons because they want to have sex with him, so similarly, the daughters of Lot, by putting their father under the influence of intoxication, alcohol, and having sex with him is forbidden, is condemnable, because by etiquette, They are not supposed to do that. So we can easily, put them in the category of demons because it's demonic. To have sex with one's father, to have sex with one's daughter. And I think along the line, we also see when Brahma created Vak, the daughter of Brahma is called Vak. So when Brahma created Vak, he also became attracted to her, his own daughter. And it created a lot of problems in the universe. Created a problem. In fact, Lord Shiva became so angry. So from time immemorial, these tendencies are not to be entertained. So therefore, they are considered antisocial, they are considered demonic, immoral, and so on. And therefore,
in the case of this story,
yeah,
the excuse was that they wanted to continue their generation. So
yeah, so they don't have any men anywhere. Why should they go to their father? So if there are no other men anywhere and their father is the only man, then that may be accepted as an excuse. Now, because they wanted to continue with the generations of humanity, so they had to copulate with their father. But their father is not the only man. So for them to drug their father and then have sex with him, and that even is bad, because they knew that even their father was in his normal consciousness, normal mind, he would not do it. So therefore, they had to drug him out of his consciousness, and then they raped him actually. So it is not accepted.
Yeah, Maharaj.
Yeah.
To that is that many a times in perpetrating any sinful activities, we create seemingly variable reasons for ourselves to lead us into doing that. But that is the most reason why in spiritual life we are enjoying to have a spiritual master.
That's right.
When we are faced,
I know. Yeah.
Yes, we seek redress.
That's right. Yeah. So we can find 1,001 reasons for doing the wrong thing. We have to justify. We must justify our action. So we'll find 1,001 reasons for doing that. But from the scriptural point of view, because everything we do, we must let's check and balance. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, Vakya. Anything we want to do, we must check with these authorities. Is it in agreement with the sadhus? Is it in agreement with the guru? Is it in agreement with the Shastra? If they're in agreement, then we'll go ahead and do it. Otherwise, no.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes. I learned that when you see those, the Ammon and the Moab, they are troublesome, that Lord's children. They are very troublesome. They disturb the Israelites very well when you check out the Bible. So that's an example that is not good on that way. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and I think that also led to the destruction of the
Sodom and Gomorrah.
What is that? Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
And that also led to the destruction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prabhu Rasavan, please mute.
So let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. So the slide says constant dropping of body means giving up a particular mentality. According to Srivas Swami, Brahma's constant dropping of his body does not refer to his actually giving up his body. Rather, it suggests that Brahma gave up a particular mentality. Mind is the subtle body of the living entity. We may sometimes be absorbed in some thought, which is sinful. But if we give up the sinful thought, it may be said that we give up the body. Brahma's mind was not in correct order when he created the demons. It must have been full of passion because the entire creation was passionate. Therefore, such passionate sons were born. So here it is explained that this giving up, constant dropping of the body, or as it is mentioned here, the Lord instructed Brahma to cast off that body. Say, cast off this impure body of yours. That's commanded by the Lord. Brahma cast off his body. So Srivas Swami, a very important commentator on the Srimad Bhagavatam, he has given his tika, he has given his vision about this incident of Brahma constantly dropping his body. It means Brahma gave up a particular mentality. So the different mindsets creates different kinds of living entities. Just as we even see that at the time of conception, the mindset of the parents will attract a particular type of soul. The purer the minds of the parents, the more exalted the child will be. And the more passionate or more sinful the minds of the parents are, that the more sinful the child will be. So Brahma was engrossed with passion because, as mentioned here, the whole process of creation is very passionate. Therefore, this passion has to come out in the form of his creation. So therefore, Krishna is advising him to drop off that mentality, to give up that mentality, so that he can create a better offspring. The Lord is described as Vivekta Dhyadma Darshanaha, one who can completely perceive the distress of others without a doubt, because he is Paramatma. He is Paramatma. He is seated in everyone's heart, and he can understand the pleasures and pains of each and every one of the living entity. So therefore, Brahma's difficulty was understood by the Lord, and therefore the Lord instructed him to drop off that mentality. And we also have our own particular thought, and that thought, if it is a pleasurable thought, it gives us a lot of pleasure. But if the thought is not a pleasurable thought, if it is a painful thought, it also gives us a lot of pain. It touches us. So the best situation, the best solution is to drop that thought, to drop that mentality. So that is what Brahma is being instructed here. And so that leads to the discussion that parents who want to have good progeny, good children, they must prepare their minds to facilitate bringing forth wonderful children. And so the Garbhadana Samskaras becomes very, very important, because by these Garbhadana Samskaras, the perplexed mind becomes purified. The perplexed mind becomes sanctified. And a good population depends on the mindset of the parents, especially at the time of conception. At the time of conception, whatever mindset the parents have will influence the type of children they are going to produce. And the example is here, that because Brahma was full of passion, the children he created from his buttocks, they were also full of such passion that they did not even care. They did not even bother. They did not even feel ashamed to run after their own father for homosexuality. Brahma is a male, and they are also males, and they're running after their father for sex. And that initiated this homosexuality from the very beginning of the creation. So it is important for parents to plan how to influence the consciousness of their children by preparing their minds through the process of Garbhadana Samskaras. Somebody can read text 29. Maybe I'll read the Sanskrit term, Kwanach Charanam Bhujam Mat Vivala Lochanam Kanchi Kalapa Vilashat Dukala Chat Chama Rodesham.
Hare Krishna.
Somebody like to read the translation and the slides?
Hare
Go
Krishna.
ahead.
Yes. The
Hare
body,
Krishna, go ahead and read. Yeah.
the body given up by Brahma to the form of evening twilight, when the day and night met, a time which twinkles passion. The Asuras, who are impassionate by nature, dominated as they are by the element of Rajas, took it for a themselves, whose lotus feet resounded with the twinklings of ankles, whose eyes were wide with intoxication, and whose hips were covered by fire coat, even which shine gallows. Yes,
Okay, read the slide.
Yes, the demons took the approach of the evening twilight to be a beautiful woman, and they began to adore her in various ways. They imagined the twilight to be a very beautiful woman with tinkless bangles on her feet, a garland on her hips, and beautiful breasts. And for their sexual satisfaction, they imagined the appearance of these beautiful girls before them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So when Brahma was instructed to cast off that body, he did that. That body took the form of an evening twilight, or that mentality Brahma cast off took the form of an evening twilight. And where the day and night meet, twilight means the evening, the junction between the day and the night. During that time, passions are kindled. And so the asuras who are passionate by nature, dominated by the element of rajas, they took it for a damsel whose lotus feet resounded with the tinkling of anklets, whose eyes were wide with intoxication, and whose hips were covered by fine cloth over which shone a girdle. So the demons who were very Brahma cast of that mentality, they saw a beautiful woman out of that. The twilight, when Brahma cast off that mindset, it took the form of twilight. The junction or the conjunction between day and night. And the demons, when they saw the twilight, they figured out that it was a damsel, it was a lady. And so they began to imagine how to enjoy with the lady. So it is said that there are 3 sandhyas or conjunctions during the different phases of the day. There is morning sandhya, which is called prata sandhya. Prata sandhya, that is the morning sandhya. Then there is a noon sandhya, which is called mandhyana sandhya. Mandhyana sandhya. Then there is an evening sandhya, which is called sayam sandhya. So these sandhyas are also very important for the practice of chanting the Gayatri mantra. For those who are second initiates, these Prata Sandhya, Madhyana Sandhya, and Sandhyam Sandhya, Sayam Sandhya are important because those are the moments one recites his Gayatri mantra and worship the Supreme Lord, worship the Sun God, worship the Brahmanas. So for a devotee, that period of twilight is a period he thinks of the Gayatri mantra. Is a period he thinks of connecting with Brahman. But for the demons, that twilight, which is the Sayam Sandhya, they simply see a form of a woman. They are so intoxicated by passion. They are so inclined to sex that nothing, they can't perceive of anything in their minds except sex. So even the twilight, they see the twilight in the form of a damsel. Sometimes people are so incensed or possessed or absorbed in a particular thought that they can see the thought manifesting every moment, in every circumstance. So the demons, they are so obsessed with this sex desire that even twilight, which is a junction between the day and the night, they simply perceive it as a woman, a beautiful damsel. And so they began to glorify that damsel. So it is said that in the Vedas, Brahmanas are metaphorically compared to trees. The 3 sandhyas are the roots. The Vedas are the branches. And the rites and rituals ordained in the Vedas are the leaves. So the morning and evening sandhyas are of 3 kinds. Morning, we have good, we have medium, and we have bad. When the morning stars are seen before the sun rises, it is called good. When the stars are not seen but the sun has not yet risen. It is said to be medium. And after the sun has risen, that is considered bad sandhya. So even these three sandhyas are further broken into three sections. When the stars are still in the sky and the sun has not come out, that is the best sandhya of the morning. When the stars disappear, but the sun has not yet come out, that is considered medium sandhya. And when the sun comes out, even though it's still the morning, maybe by 6:30 or thereabout, it is still considered sandhya, but it's considered bad sandhya. So one should perform his spiritual activities during the good sandhya, during the medium sandhya, but not during the bad sandhya. No wonder Srila Prabhupada recommends that we rise up an hour before Brahma Muhurta so that we can start our spiritual practices before the bad sandhya comes. We take advantage of the good and medium sandhyas. So also, the Sayam Sandhya, which is the evening Sandhya, there are also good, there is also medium, and there is also bad. The time till the sun sets is called the good Sandhya. Before the sunset, just before the sunset, it is called a good sandhya. And when the sun sets, before the stars come out, it is medium sandhya. And when the stars begin to arise or come out, that is considered bad sandhya. So one must have performed his rituals, his spiritual activities before this bad sandhya. So all these sandhyas, they are important. Therefore, it is said, any Brahmana who fails to execute or observe these sandhyas carefully will become a Sudra in his next life, or even become degraded in lower species like dogs. So we must be conscious of these sandhyas and take advantage of them. Otherwise, there are some consequences.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My small comment. What about people who engage in night vigil, praying between 12 and 3 a.m.? Can they be contaminated by evil spirits?
Well, if you have executed your sandhyas properly at the right time, because like chanting Gayatris, you must chant them at the right time. And if you continue with your spiritual activity throughout the whole night, there is benefit. Though it is here described as bad sandhya, but because you have done the right thing by chanting your Gayatri mantras, performing your spiritual duties at the right sandhya, at the right time, by extension, the whole night can be covered by that auspiciousness. For instance, we often hear that Haridas Thakur, he chanted 24 hours. or 22 hours. The Goswamis, they chanted 22 hours. Srila Prabhupada, he worked all throughout the night because they have observed these sandhyas properly. So by extension, they, even though it might be considered a bad sandhya, but because they've observed these sandhyas properly, they can extend the auspiciousness to cover the whole night. So it depends. Having knowledge of these sandhyas, doing your rituals at the right time, and then extending the process to cover the whole night. One still derives some spiritual benefit from that. But if you don't have knowledge of these sandhyas, or you did not do the right thing at the right time, and you just jump into the night and begin to perform some activity, there could be some reactions, as it is mentioned here.
Maharaj,
Okay, yes?
Thank you, Prabhu.
yeah, in the same line of thought,
Yeah.
what is the exceptions of particular days like Ekadashi, Jamastami, and even the particular month like the Purushottam?
Yes, those are special days. Those days, we can say they are auspicious days. And so there's no question of bad sandhya. Yeah, they're auspicious days. The whole day is auspicious. So there is no influence of bad sandhya on those days. Yeah. Everything becomes normalized, everything becomes auspicious. Even when Krishna was appearing, everything, the stars were in line, everything was organized. The same thing when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was appearing, everything was in order, everything was aligned to be auspicious. So those moments are auspicious moments, and there's no question of bad sandhya. Everything is good. Yeah. So we can move on to text 30. 30 says, Anyonya Slesayo Tunga Nirantara Payodaram Sunasam Sudwijam Sigda Asa Lila Valokanam. Translation: her breast projected upward because of their clinging to each other, and they were too contiguous to admit any intervening space. She had a shapely nose and beautiful teeth, and lovely smile played on her lips, and she cast a spiteful glance at the Asuras. So there's no purport. So we'll go to the next verse. But actually, we can see the power of imagination. In this verse, we can see the power of imagination. There is no woman. There is no girl. It is just twilight. But the demons, they have conceptualized, they have imagined a beautiful woman out of that twilight. And now their meditation is becoming more and more intense. They say her breast projected outwards because of their clinging to each other. And they were too contiguous to admit any intervening space. She had a shapely nose and a beautiful teeth, and lovely smile played on her lips, and she cast a spiteful glance at the demons. So this is how the demons were perceiving this twilight as a beautiful damsel, as a beautiful lady. And so they're so obsessed, they're so absorbed in this thought that they just see nothing but this beautiful woman. So text 31. The Sanskrit says, Guhantim Vridayad Manam Nila Laka Varutinim Upala Vyasura Dharma Sarve Samumuhu Striyam. Somebody likes to read a translation and the slide?
Okay, please let me take it.
Okay.
Adorned with dark tresses, she hid herself, as it were, out of shyness. Upon seeing that girl, the Suras were all infatuated with an appetite for sex.
Okay. Slide.
And then this thing says, a godly person is full of knowledge, and demoniac person is full of ignorance. The difference between demons and demigods is that a beautiful woman very easily attracts the minds of demons, but she cannot attract the mind of a godly person. A godly person is full of knowledge, and a demoniac person is full of ignorance. Just as a child is attracted by a beautiful doll, similarly, a demon who is less intelligent and full of ignorance is attracted by material beauty and an appetite for sex. The godly person knows that this nicely dressed and ornamented attraction of high breasts, high hips, beautiful nose, and fair complexion is Maya.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. So it said the difference between the demons and the demigods is that a godly person is full of knowledge and a demoniac person is full of ignorance. And because of this ignorance, they're easily attracted by the external beauty. Yeah. The external beauty is Maya's scheme, is Maya's plan, is Maya's arrangement to keep the living entity entangled. So, for a devotee who is in knowledge, he knows that this nicely dressed, nicely decorated, high hips, high breast, fair complexion. He understands this is Maya's trap. This is Maya's arrangement to keep me entangled, to keep me bound up in this well. So that is knowledge. That is knowledge. For the demons, they don't have that knowledge. Everything they see, immediately they start thinking of how to exploit it, how to enjoy it. They see everything in relationship to their sense gratification. That is the vision of a demon. Why? Because his mind is full of ignorance. But a devotee, he sees everything in relationship to Krishna. Even when he sees a beautiful girl, he's thinking, this is Krishna Dasi. This is Krishna's servant. He's not thinking, this is for my enjoyment. But for the demon, he's thinking, this is for my pleasure. So it is said that all the beauty a woman can display is only a combination of flesh and blood. Therefore, Sankaracharya has advised that all persons not to be attracted by such interaction of flesh and blood. They should be attracted by the real beauty of the spiritual world. One who is attracted by the beauty of Radha and Krishna cannot be attracted by the false beauty of this material world. Sharat Padmo Shavam Bhaktram Vachascha Sravanam Ritam Hirdayam Shura Durabam Strinam Kovida Chestitam. A woman's face is as attractive and beautiful as a blossoming lotus flower during autumn. Her words are very sweet. and they give pleasure to the ear. But if we study a woman's heart, we can understand it to be extremely sharp, like the blade of a razor. In these circumstances, who could understand the dealings of a woman? So the body of the first sex, the female, is actually Maya's instrument. It is Maya's chains for shackling the living entity. And therefore, we have to develop this knowledge. We have to acquire this knowledge of detachment from all that is material. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha. Janayatu Asuvaragyam Janachayat Ahaitukam. One has to develop knowledge, and this knowledge leads to detachment. We cannot say we have acquired spiritual knowledge. We cannot say we have advanced in knowledge, and at the same time, we have not made progress in detachment. The two of them go side by side. Knowledge leads to detachment. It is important. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission is to give knowledge. Vidya Nija, Bhakti Yogam. We cannot separate knowledge. It's a Varagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam. Varagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam. We cannot separate knowledge from detachment. Neither can we separate it from Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means developing knowledge, and by developing knowledge, we have to develop detachment. So once we have developed this detachment, then we see things properly. The demons don't see things properly. They see things in relationship to their gratification, sense gratification. And that's how they get entangled. A devotee who is full of knowledge, he sees things with detachment. He sees things and understands these are Krishna's property. This is for Krishna's pleasure. So that is a knowledge of detachment. And so he doesn't get entangled. So the difference between a godly person is that he's full of knowledge, and the demonic person is full of ignorance. And because the devotee is full of knowledge, the godly person is full of knowledge, he sees things in the right perspective, which the demon does not have. So we move to the next verse, unless there's a question. Text 32 has no purport. So I'll just read that quickly. Aho rupam aho daryam aho asya navam vayaha mandi karmaya mananam akarmeva visharpati. The demons praise her. Oh, what a beauty. What rare self-control. What a budding youth in the midst of all of us who are passionately longing for her. She is moving about like one, absolutely free from passion. So the demons continue to praise a non-existent woman. They continue to perceive that the twilight has become a beautiful lady. He has become a damsel, beautiful damsel. And so they're praising her with choice poetry. That is what we see in this world, that so much energy, so much time is put in glorifying the skin-deep beauty, the temporary beauty of this world. The actual beauty is Krishna. Radha and Krishna are the actual beauty. But because the people of this world have no knowledge of this actual beauty, they spend all their resources, they spend all their energy, they spend all their intelligence in glorifying this temporary beauty that is bound to disappear. Today, one may have all the beauty. One may be described as a beauty queen, but 20 years later, 40 years later, that beauty queen becomes an ugly looking old lady. So it's a temporary beauty. The real beauty is in the soul. The real beauty is inside, but demons don't see that. But for a devotee, because we are in knowledge of Atman Tattva, we are in knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can see things in the proper perspective. So we go to verse 33 also. It has no purport, but it says, Vitar Kayanto Bahuda Tam Sandyam Pramadakritim Abhisham Bhavya Vishambat Pariya Prichan Kumedasaha. Indulging in various speculations about the evening twilight, which appeared to them endowed with the form of a young woman, the wicked-minded Asuras treated her with respect and fondly spoke to her as follows. So here it says, indulging in various speculations. It means mental concoctions about the twilight, which they saw as a young woman. And so they are glorifying the perceived beautiful damsel. So that takes us to 34. 34 says, Kasi kasyasi ramburu ko vartaste tra bamini rupa dravena panyena durbagam noviba dase. Somebody like to read the translations and the slide for 34.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who are you, oh pretty girl? Those whose wife or daughter are you? And what can be the object of your appearing before us? Why do you tantalize us, unfortunate as we are, with the priceless commodity of your beauty? It's like,
yeah.
The mentality of the demon is being enamored by the false beauty of this material world, which expressed herein. The demoniac can pay any price for the skin beauty of this material world. They work very hard all day and night, but the purpose of their hard work is to enjoy sex life. Sometimes they misrepresent themselves as karma yogis, not knowing the meaning of the word yoga. Yoga means to link up with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or to act in Krishna consciousness. A person who works very hard, no matter in what occupation, and who offers the result of the work to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is called a karma yogi. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Actually, Srila Prabhupada says, I think in the 11th verse of the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that a person who works very hard in any occupation and offers the results of his work for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada describes such people as sannyasis. So they are sannyasis. They are as good as sannyasis. Because they are renounced from their resolve of their actions. Everyone in this world is attached to the results of their work. But one who is detached, one who is in knowledge, he uses everything in Krishna's service. So therefore, Prabhupada says that there are members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So there are many members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness who are working very hard in factories. And then the result of their hard work is used in the service of the Lord. Such persons must be understood to be as good as sannyasis because they're engaging their efforts in the service of the Lord. But for the demons, they work very hard, but day and night. Now, what is the purpose of their hard work? In order to enjoy sex life, in order to lure women, pay for sex, enjoy sex life. That's all. So they're already defeated. They're already defeated because the consequence of such a life is already waiting for them. I think somebody's phone is, somebody's background is full of noise. Maybe you have to unmute or mute. So, they may call themselves karma yogis, but actually Srila Bhakti Siddhanta called them kuyogis. They are not karma yogis. They are kuyogis. Kuyogis means bad yogis. They are terrible yogis. They cannot even be defined as yogis. Yoga means to link with the Supreme. So if somebody is called a kuyogi, it means that you are just the opposite of a yogi because they are not linking with the Supreme. So the best option is to always engage our efforts in the service of the Lord. And that's why Krishna is saying in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Yat karosi, yat anyasi, juhosi dadasi yat. Whatever you eat, whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever tapasya, austerity you perform, whatever charity you give, do that as an offering unto me. So in that verse, Krishna, and I think it's 9:27, Krishna is giving us the means by which we can spiritualize every activity of ours. That is a very important verse. And in Bhagavad Gita is very important. Now, whatever we do, whatever we eat, whatever we give away in charity, whatever austerity we perform, Krishna says, do that as an offering unto me. So the devotee has a better understanding, and therefore he works in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he becomes free. He becomes free from the entanglement of this world and becomes eligible to enter the spiritual sky. Text 35. Yava kachitram abale distya sandarshanam tava usuno shiksha mananam kanduka kridaya manaha. Whoever you may be, oh beautiful girl, we are fortunate in being able to see you. While playing with a ball, you have agitated the minds of all onlookers. And the slide says, if one wants to enjoy real sense enjoyment, then one must get free of material entanglement. A patient is advised by the experienced physician to refrain from ordinary enjoyment while in a diseased condition. A diseased person cannot enjoy anything. He has to restrain his enjoyment in order to get rid of the disease. Similarly, our material condition is a diseased condition. If one wants to enjoy real sense enjoyment, then one must get free of the entanglement of material existence. In the spiritual life, we can enjoy sense enjoyment, which has no end. The difference between material and spiritual enjoyment is that material enjoyment is limited. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his instructions to Sanatana Goswami, he mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is the verse? It says, Taiche Bhakti Phale, Krishna Prema Upajaya, Krishna Prema Upajayat. Preme Krishna Swada Hoila Bhava Nashapaya. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying is that our material existence can only be terminated. Our material existence can only be destroyed when we awaken our Krishna consciousness, when we develop our taste for the association of Krishna. In fact, the whole process of Krishna consciousness is to awaken the taste for Krishna. It's called Krishna Swada. Krishna Swada. Swada means taste. Aswada. Krishna Aswada. We have to awaken our taste, the sweetness of Krishna, because the sweetness for Krishna is missing. We are searching for that sweetness elsewhere. And in the material world, the highest sweetness, the highest pleasure is sex. So no wonder the demons are so absorbed, they are so obsessed, they are so intoxicated with this sex pleasure that even they are seeing a twilight as a woman. They're so obsessed that they see twilight as a woman. So Krishna consciousness means awakening the taste for Krishna's association. And when we are able to awaken our taste for Krishna, then bhava nasapaya. Bhava means material existence. The material one is called bhava sindhu. It's an ocean of miseries, ocean of struggle. And that bhava sindhu becomes nashapaya, becomes destroyed when we awaken our taste for Krishna's association. And that comes from our regular chanting, offenseless chanting, attentive chanting of the holy name. Anyone who is engaged in offenseless chanting, attentive chanting, concentrated chanting, he will definitely awaken the taste, the sweetness of Krishna's association, because the holy name is not different from Krishna. Deha dehira, nama namira. Krishna's body is not different from Krishna, and Krishna's name is not different from Krishna. So therefore, when a devotee chants Krishna's names nicely, attentively, seriously, without any offense, one can experience the sweetness of Krishna in his names. One can experience the sweetness of Krishna's association in his name. So in order to get our disease of material entanglement cured, we have to give up material sense enjoyment. Actually, I remember Bhakti Tita Maharaj making such a statement. He said, the material sense enjoyment is very, very limited because the senses are limited. There is a limitation. Even if you have the best food, you cannot eat beyond the capacity of your stomach. If you go beyond the capacity of your stomach, you will suffer. If you have the best woman, or you have millions of beautiful women, you cannot go beyond your capacity of sex. If you go beyond that capacity, you will die. If you have the best of everything in this world, you have a limited capacity. And if you go beyond that capacity, you endanger your life. So he said that is how material sense enjoyment is so limited. He said on the spiritual realm, on the spiritual dimension, there are no such limitations. Because Krishna is unlimited. The pleasure associated with Krishna is unlimited. And when a devotee opens up that enjoyment, that pleasure, that Krishna pleasure, transcendental pleasure, there is no end to it. So actually, sense gratification, material sense gratification, limits the soul, obstructs the soul from enjoying real sense enjoyment. So here it is said in spiritual life, we can enjoy sense enjoyment which has no end. The difference between material and spiritual enjoyment is that the material enjoyment is always limited. And that of the spiritual enjoyment is unlimited. Anandamaya Vyasat. There is no limit. Anandamaya, no limit. So we go to text 36. Which says the sloka, Nayakatraite Jayati Salina Pada Patmam Ginantya Muhu Karatalina Patat Patangam Madhyam Vishidati Brihatstana Bharabitam Santeva Drishtir Amala Shushuka Samuha. Somebody like to read the translation and the slide, 36.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, go ahead, Prabhu. Go ahead.
Prabhuji, can I read translation, Maharaj?
Yes, translation and the slide.
Yes. Oh beautiful woman. Oh beautiful woman, when you strike the bouncing ball against the ground with your hand again and again, your lotus feet do not stay in one place. Oppressed by the weight of your full-grown breast, your waist becomes fatigued, and your clear vision grows dull, as it were prey braid your comely hair.
Okay, then the slide.
Like, as moths are killed at night by fire, the demons become victim of the movement of the breast of the beautiful woman. The demons observe beautiful gestures in the woman's every step. Here they praise her full-grown breast, her scattered hair, and her movement in stepping forward and backward while playing with the ball. In every step, they enjoy her womanly beauty, and while they enjoy her beauty, their mind becomes agitated by sex desire. As moths at night surrounded a fire and are killed, so the demons become victim of the movement of the ball like breast of a beautiful woman. The scattered hair of the beautiful woman also afflicts the heart of the lusty demon.
Thank you. So, Hare Krishna. So here, the demons are compared to moths. As moths are killed by fire at night, the demons become victims of the movement of the breast of a beautiful woman. So it's a very, very, very interesting analogy. We all know at night, the insects, moths, they are attracted to any glittering light. And they'll fly at a high speed towards the light. And so normally we see in the morning under the electric pole, many insects die under the electric pole because they hit the light and the bulb is hot. And so they're burnt, they're killed. What to speak of open fire? When they see open fire, they fly right into the fire and they're burnt to ashes. In a similar way, the lusty desires of the demons make them become very, very much inclined to beautiful women. But these beautiful women are nothing but Maya's fire. They're fire set by Maya to destroy them. And especially the ball-like breasts of a beautiful women, they attract the minds of demons. In fact, the whole woman's body is designed to attract. That is a fact. It's designed to attract. If you look at it, you'll be attracted because it's Maya's way of keeping the living entity in the material world. So the woman's body is so designed to keep everyone attracted. Even the women are attracted to their own bodies. They're attracted to their own bodies, and that is why they spend so much time designing, decorating, and dressing. They're attracted to their own bodies. And then the men become more attracted because they decorate it so nicely so that the man can become more attracted. So this is compared to fire. Our attraction towards this external beauty is compared to fire. Especially if one is just attracted to every woman, then he's looking for trouble. He will end up in trouble. Not two ways about it. So therefore, the Vedic tradition sanctions marriage, that every man and every woman should limit himself to one partner. And so he confines his attraction to that man or to that woman. So he doesn't get attracted to any other woman or man. And this way, one can check, one can control this lust. But for the demons, any beautiful woman they see, they start making plans how to exploit. And so they easily get attracted by the ball-like breast. They get attracted by the movement of her body. They get attracted to the high hips. They get attracted to all kinds of things. And they become so intoxicated, just as these demons are so intoxicated. Now they are glorifying this imaginative girl. The girl is not there. It's just a twilight. But they're imagining that she's there. And they're spending so much time and energy glorifying something which is not there. Why don't we spend our energy in glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So it is said that the greatest enemy of the living entity is lust. Lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity. Actually, Krishna describes that in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked the question, why the living entity is drawn by lust. Why is he drawn to sinful activities, even though he doesn't want to? And Krishna gave the answer. He said, Kama isa kroda isha rajoguna samobhava. Mahashano mahapapma vidi nam ihavariyanam. The greatest enemy of the living entity is lust, karma. Karma isha, kroda isha. So when we look at the bodies of women, they would arouse our lust. Therefore, Shankaracharya advised that one should only look at the feet of a woman. Don't look at her body. When a woman is standing in front of you, don't look up. If you look at her body, you'll be disturbed. Your mind will be disturbed. In fact, Shankaracharya says, one should not even look at the feet of a woman. He says, you should not extend your vision beyond 4 feet from you. You don't look beyond 4 feet. So whatever is happening there, you don't even see. Because Shankaracharya was a very strict sannyasi. He took sannyas at the age of 12. So he was very strict, and he gives all these instructions and guidance to those who want to observe strict celibacy. So don't look beyond 4 feet from your body. So you don't see anybody outside of 4 feet. And then if it becomes necessary to look at a woman, look at her feet. In the case of Lakshman, when Sita was adopted by Ravana, the idea was for Lakshman to also search for Sita. But Lakshman had never seen Sita's face. So he told the brother, sorry, my brother, even if I see Sita, I can't recognize her. I was shocked. Your brother's wife, you say you cannot recognize her? Yeah, Lakshman says, I can't recognize her because I've never looked at her face. I always look at her feet. I mean, that is a standard of brahmacharya life. Lakshman was observing that brahmacharya life. So he was only looking at the feet of Sita. He doesn't look at Sita's face. So he cannot even recognize Sita. If he has to go for a rescue mission, he cannot recognize Sita. So the way of avoiding this beauty of tempting beauty of the empowered woman's body created by Maya is just look down, look at the feet, don't look up, because the face is so designed, the eyes, the nose, the breast, the body, all are so designed by Maya, empowered by Maya to captivate us. And that is the entangling point. That is the shackle. Sex is the shackles that keeps us bound up in the material world. And the example is here, the demons. There is no woman, but they have created a woman out of their own imagination. They have created a woman out of their own mind. And now they are worshiping that woman. They are offering her prayers. They are offering her glorification. Instead of spending that energy, that glorification for the Supreme Lord, that would deliver them from material existence, they are wasting that energy and time in a non-existent personality. So that is the power of sex life. That's the power of the female body. That's the power of Maya that manifests as a female body. So, Hare Krishna.
Yes, concerning one wife of a devotee What about a devotee who have 2 wives before join the movement?
Very good. Keep them. You keep them, you don't throw them away. We are not against polygamy. If you can maintain them. Of course, Prabhupada advised the devotees not to keep so many women because it's expensive to keep a woman. Because you have to feed her, you have to provide clothing for her, you have to provide residence, you have to provide so many things. And they are never satisfied, actually. That's how Maya uses them. They are never satisfied. Give everything to a woman, she's never satisfied. Never. That's how they are created. Is their heart is as deep as the hole in the universe. It's very deep. But whatever you give, they're not satisfied. That's how they're created. It's not their fault. That's how they're created because they have to capture the man and keep him in bondage. So they're created like that. So even to provide for one woman in Kali Yuga is not very easy. But if you have the means to keep 2 women, there's nothing wrong with it. There are devotees who had many wives. Vasudeva had 10 wives. 9 of them were staying with Ananda Maharaj when he was put in jail. He and his wife, Devaki, they were arrested. The other 9 were staying with Vasudeva and with Nanda Maharaj. Rohini is one of them. Rohini is one of the wives of Vasudeva. So a devotee can have more than one wife if he has the resources to maintain them. But in Kali Yuga, things are very difficult. So therefore, Prabhupada says, it's better you have one, maintain her as much as you can, so that you can concentrate on your devotional service. But if already you have 2 of them or 3 of them or 4 of them before you become a devotee, make them devotees if possible. Engage them in Krishna's service as possible. That is the perfection. We don't say abandon them. No, they must have protection. They must be given protection. That is how they are also created. A woman has to be protected when she's in the youth by the father, or maybe when she's a child by the father, in the youth by the husband, and in her old age by the grown-up children. That is how the Vedic tradition designs the life of women. In childhood, the father; in youth, the husband; old age, by the grown-up children. A woman should never be independent. And there are more women than men. So therefore, some men must take the austerity of maintaining more than one wife. Of course, it is always said that Lord Ramachandra, he came to demonstrate the dharma of marrying one wife, Purusham Maryada. Purusham Maryada. He came to instruct, to demonstrate that there is no need for many wives. One should just keep one wife, be loyal to that wife, and go on with his spiritual life. So if you already have 2 wives, maintain them and try to make them devotees. That is most important. So text 37 says, Iti sayantanam, iti sayantamnim sandhyam asura pramadayitim pralobhayatim jagrihur matra mudadiya shriyam. Translation: the asuras, clouded in their understanding, took the evening twilight to be a beautiful woman, showing herself in her alluring form. They seized her. So the asuras are described here as mudadiya. meaning that they are captivated by ignorance, just like the ass. The demons were captivated by the false, glaring beauty of this material form, and thus they embrace her. So, Muda Diya means one who is not intelligent, one who is possessed of ignorance. So, Muda Diya Striyam. So, one should not be captivated by ignorance. This body, material beauty, is simply a manifestation of ignorance, because it is temporary. It is not there. It is there for a while. It's illusory. It's just there for a moment, and it will disappear. So those who are really full of knowledge, they know how to deal with this aspect of life. They know how to handle these issues. So we have to follow in the footsteps of those who are enlightened. Those who are enlightened, they understand that these forms are just there to take away our attraction towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Man mana bhavama bhakto mam yaji mam namaskuru. Krishna says, think of me, man mana bhavama bhakto, become my devotee. Mam yaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru, offer your obeisances unto me. This is what Krishna wants from the living entity. This is what Krishna wants from us. But when we engage in meditating on imaginative forms of women, when we engage our minds in meditating on the beautiful forms of women, when we engage our minds in meditating on all these forms, how can we meditate on Krishna? How can we think of Krishna? So Maya presents this other beauty to take away our attention from the Lord. And the result of that is that we become entangled and we cannot get out of the material world. So therefore, Muda Diya means the demons are unintelligent, they are captivated by ignorance, and they remain entangled in material existence, having been captivated by the glaring beauty of the material world, which is manifested in the form of the body of a woman. Text 38 says, Prahasya bhava gambiram jigrantya manam atmanaha kantya sasarja bhagavan gandharva sarasam ganam. Somebody like to read text 38, the verse and the slide.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, go ahead.
With a laugh full of
The slide will come.
significance, the worshipful Brahma then evolved by its own loveliness, which seemed to enjoy itself by itself. The host of Gandharva and Aspara.
Yeah, read a slide.
Music and dancing employed in sense gratification are to be accepted as demoniac. The musicians in the upper planetary system are called Gandharvas, and the dancing girls are called Aspara. After being attacked by the demons and evolving a form of a beautiful woman in the twilight, Brahma next created Gandharvas and Asparas. Music and dancing employed in sense gratification are to be accepted as demoniac, but the same music and dancing, when employed in glorifying the Supreme Lord as Kirtan, are transcendental and they bring about a life completely fit for spiritual enjoyment. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So after Rama cuts off that mentality, which was a result of the creation of the demons, the next category of beings that Brahma created out of his loveliness, out of his own loveliness, he created the Gandharvas and the Apsaras. The Gandharvas are the celestial musicians, and the Apsaras are the celestial dancers. So when Brahma created these two categories of living entities out of his own loveliness, initially he created the demons out of passion, and so they were full of passion. Now he has created the Gandharvas and the Apsaras out of his own loveliness, and so they have become musicians and Apsaras. And that goes to tell us the consciousness, the importance of consciousness in the art of procreation. The consciousness of the parents directly determines the consciousness of the child, or the category or the caliber of the child that is brought into the world. And so we can see here that we can see these two scenarios. Brahma creating the demons when he was full of passion and the activities of these demons. And then Brahma threw off that mentality, and then he developed a loving mood. And then he created the Apsaras and the Gandharvas, and they are a different type of creation, a different type of living entities. They dance and they sing. Of course, Prabhupada is mentioning here, music and dance employed in sense gratification are to be accepted as demonic. But the same music and dance, when employed in glorifying the Supreme Lord as kirtan, are transcendental, and they bring about a life completely fit for spiritual enjoyment. So the Apsaras and the Gandharvas, they always engage in entertaining the residents of the Swagalok, the heavenly planets, particularly Indra, who is the king of the heavens, Maha Indra. He engages the Gandharvas to sing for his pleasure, and engages the Apsaras to dance for his pleasure. So that is what they do in the heavenly planets. Brahma witnessed how the demons were bewildered, accepting the twilight as a beautiful girl. He remembered the actual beauty and laughed or smiled and relished his own beauty, which was full of deep significance. And then he created the Gandharvas. So Brahman laughed at the demons who were running after the illusory damsel, which they imagined from the twilight. And so Brahman laughed at that, their stupidity. Brahman laughed at them because there was no woman there, but due to their obsession, they saw a woman. So then Brahma, he deeply thought of his own beauty, thought of his own loveliness, thought of his own nature. And in that deep meditation, he created the Gandharvas and the Apsaras. And they became the celestial entertainers. So it is important that we create the consciousness that will bring in a particular or a specific time of progeny. That is the lesson we learned from Brahma's life. That the time of progeny that is created depends on the consciousness of the parents. So,
Maharaj,
yes.
Please elucidate this for me. We mostly hear and read about the Gandharvas and the Apsaras and Lord Indra.
Yeah.
And we have never heard that Brahma was entertained by the Gandharvas and the Apsaras. But here, as you were explaining, these Gandharvas and the Apsaras were creating out of love of himself. So does it mean that every time the Gandharvas are singing and dancing for Indra, he, Brahma, also feels some excitement?
Well, I think sometimes they also go to Brahma's court and dance. Because it is mentioned in the story of Indradumna Maharaj. When Indradumna Maharaj went to invite Brahma to come to consecrate the Jagannath temple, Brahma was in a concert. Brahma was in a dance fair. There was some dancing going on. Brahma was there, and he told Indradumna to wait for a minute. And that few seconds, Indradumna had to wait for Brahma to attend the dance. When he came back, thousands of years had passed, and thousands of his generations were gone, and even the temple was covered by sand. So in that narrative, it is mentioned that Brahma was in attendance to a dance. And so it means that from time to time, Brahma is also entertained by these Apsaras and Gandharvas. It may not be very often like the case in Indra. They are permanently situated in Indra's court. Every day they are entertaining Indra. But in the case of Brahma, occasionally there's some function and they also go to perform. But they're permanently situated in Indra's court, where they dance every day to entertain Indra, and they sing every day to entertain Indra. But in the case of Brahma, once a while, Brahma also has a function, and they also go to perform. So let's move on to 39. There's no purport. It says, Visarsajatanum tamvai Jusnam kantimatim priyam Ta'iva chanduhu pritya Vishwavasu purogamaha. After that, Brahma gave up all that shining and beloved form of moonlight. Vishwavasu and other Gandharvas gladly took possession of it. So again, after creating the Gandharvas, Brahma gave up that loveliness, the shining loveliness of the form of moonlight, in the form of moonlight. And then Vishwavasu, one of the leaders of the Gandharvas, and then the other Gandharvas, they gladly accept and possess it. In text 40, it says, Sristva Bhuta Pisa Chamsa Bhagavan Atma Dandrina Dik Vashaso Mukta Kesham Viksha Chamilayat Drishav. The glorious Brahma next evolved from his sloth, the ghost and fiends, but he closed his eyes when he saw them stand naked with their hair scattered. The slide says, ghosts and mischievous hobgoblins are also the creation of Brahma. They are not false. All of them are meant for putting the conditioned souls into various miseries. They are understood to be the creation of Brahma under the direction of the Supreme Lord. So, ghosts and hobgoblins are also the creations of Brahma. And why are they created? For a purpose, so that they can torment the living entities who are caught up in this world. Because even though the material world is created for the pleasure of the living, of the conditioned souls, it's created for the Nitya Baddhas to try to exploit it, to try to extract some pleasure from it. But simultaneously, the Lord also made things in this material creation very hard. He made things in this material world very difficult. He introduced difficulties in the material creation for a reason. And the reason is to make us become detached. The reason is to awaken our Krishna consciousness. The reason is to let us understand that this material world is not the best place to stay. That's why the Lord says, Du kalayam asaswatam. It's a place of dukkha. It's a place of misery. So the earlier we realize that it's a place of misery, the sooner we realize it's a place of misery, the better for us, because we shall begin to think seriously about leaving this material world. In fact, there is a verse from one of the Puranas. It says that that after going through so much misery in this life, one is supposed to learn some lessons. And not only this life, previous lives also. And even the next life, more miseries are waiting for us. So in the previous life, we have suffered. In this life, we are suffering. And the next life is waiting for us. The suffering of the next life is waiting for us. So an intelligent person would begin to consider making every effort to leave this world. So all these miseries that are presented by material nature are actually meant to awaken our Krishna consciousness. So therefore, ghosts and hobgoblins were created by Brahma to give the living entities in this world trouble. And that trouble is actually meant to awaken the sleeping soul. So that's why Brahma created these these ghosts and hobgoblins. Well, our time is over. We've only been able to do up to 40. We still have 13 verses, I think, because this chapter ends with 53 verses. So we still have 13 verses. So I think we still have to use one more class to finish up those verses. before we move to the next chapter. So if there are any questions, they are welcome. If there are no questions, my time is up. We'll call it a day until next Saturday.
Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Dandawa Pranam, so good to see you. Thank you very much.
Hey, see Prem.
Oh, glory to you. So this is something very interesting and beautiful to me. Just like birth, old age, disease, and death, they are all devotees of the Lord. Their own is that this world is not our home. And by the mercy of Lord Brahma and the permission of the Supreme Lord, these ghosts and oglobins and different kinds of terrible beings are created to give the living entities until they come to their senses and start looking for the Lord for a solution. So, yeah, it's very beautiful. But for devotees, people who have already taken up this process, what advice do you have for them?
Well, thank you for your question. I know you understand, you know the answer, but you're just asking on the behalf of others. So for a devotee, these things should not disturb us. They should not disturb us because we are connected to Krishna. Of course, it depends on the seriousness of the connection. The more we are seriously connected to Krishna, the more we will not experience these ghosts and hobgoblins. If our connection to Krishna is not very strong, we may still experience the disturbances of ghosts and hobgoblins. So for a devotee, I will say we should simply increase our attachment to Krishna, increase our connection with Krishna, then these hobgoblins and ghosts will not influence us anymore. Like we see in the case of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he could sack ghosts. He could deal with even misty yogis who could create fire on their heads because it was his attachment to Krishna, his connection with Krishna was very, very strong. And I can also say, even as neophytes as we were, far back in the 80s, 85, 86, thereabout, devotees drove out ghosts from hospitals. And the first temple was at Odoko in Accra. There is a hospital. The hospital is still there now. Something from St. Joseph's Family Hospital or something like that. It's a Catholic hospital. The doctor is a Catholic. The private hospital. There were ghosts that were haunting the patients in the hospital. And every night, patients have to run helter-skelter because they will see some form. So they tried all other methods, they couldn't deal with it. Even they brought their own priests, they couldn't deal with it. So finally somebody said, all right, why don't you try the Hare Krishnas? So the doctor came to the temple because it's just a walking distance to the temple and complained that there is some ghosts worrying his patients. And so if there is anything we can do. Devotees, just neophyte devotees, they said, okay, we'll try. So they went with conch shell, with mridanga, with karatals, and then they were blowing conch shell throughout the hospital and doing kirtan from room to room, and that was the end of the ghost. The ghost was gone. So, as a reciprocation, as a reward, the doctor declared that any devotee that is treated in that hospital should not be charged. And so many of our, and it's also what do you call it? A gynecological hospital. They also deliver women. So most of the children that were delivered in that temple were done free of charge in that hospital as a reciprocation for driving away the ghost from the hospital. So that goes to indicate how powerful this process is. That if we do it properly, ghosts should not worry us. We have the power to drive away ghosts. Even just by reading Srimad Bhagavatam under a haunted tree, the ghost was driven away. So the holy name, conch shell, Srimad Bhagavatam, kirtan, all these are very powerful means to drive away ghosts. So if we are properly connected to these things, a devotee should not be bothered by ghosts and homoblings.
And Maharaj,
yes,
as a reminder to just this our mid-year temple, devotees were able to scatter the meeting place of witches and wizards by Harinam chanting.
Certainly. When we came here first, there was a lot of trouble because there were a lot of witches who did not want us. So they would go to the chief and said he should sack us from here. But the chief is a very saintly person. He didn't like the idea. He will come and tell us. So the kirtan, people didn't like the kirtan in this town. They didn't like it. But that was our food. We had no other activity except kirtan. So every day we do kirtan, just as Amara has revived this process. Every day we're doing kirtan. Throughout at that time, the village was just very small. It was just one lane village, one street village. The road, all road passing through, that's the road in immediate town. So every day we just go up and down, up and down, up and down, like that. And then it destroyed many of their things. They were complaining that their money was getting missing, this is missing, that is missing, but they're just stories. Even where the temple is, when we were used to come at night, sometimes I used to go to town to cultivate Indians, and then we would come home. And then one day, myself and mother were coming from the junction. At that time, there were no buildings around the area. We saw a big witchcraft light just where the school is, just on the main road. So we also, mother saw, I also saw. I said, this is witchcraft, around 10 o'clock. So I told mother, I'm going to scatter these people. And mother said, don't go there. They will disturb you. I said, I'm not afraid of them. So I took out my chanting bead from my bead bag, and I started chanting very loudly. And I was going towards the light. About 10 yards away from the light, the light disappeared. And since that day till today, we have not seen them again there. So the Maha Mantra is very powerful. The holy name is very powerful. And we are associating with it every day. So a devotee should not be bothered by witches, ghosts, homoblings, and so on, because we are connected to a very powerful process. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
So I think we adjourn the sitting till next Saturday.
Oh, glories.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripatulibhyaya vacha
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasundubhyascha patitanam pavashnavyo vaishnavyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinde ki jai, Nitai Gora Punyande. His Grace Srivas Vanacari ki jai. All groups assembled